What's up, hockey fans, hockey fanatics out there? Welcome to episode 10 of the Hockey Lounge. I am your host, Nick. It is Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. If you want to become a lounge member, hit that subscribe button below or follow us on Instagram, the Hockey Lounge. So tonight we have Joseph Cramarosa of the Minnesota Wild, NHL hockey player. We're going to get into the digs and the nose of being an NHL hockey player, maybe a little insight of what happens on game day, practices, flights, road trips, off-season training, all the good stuff. Does he bring 5 suits on his road trip? Does he bring 1 pair of shoes? Does he bring 2 pairs of underwear? Who knows what these guys do when they're on the road? But welcome to the lounge, Joseph.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Good stuff. So we've had Darren Hader last week. We've had Christy Piero. We had Michael Cramarosa on the show. We've gone through many different journeys here over the last 3 weeks. But tonight we want to get more of an in-depth look on what it's like to be an NHL player. Okay, so let's take us back here to your draft day. And we were just chatting about this behind the scenes there offline. So 2011. You get drafted 65th overall to the Anaheim Ducks. And I was sort of chirping you about your hairdo there. The shaved head, you look like a little boy there, but a big little boy. So tell us about that draft day.
Yeah, that was, like I told you before, the heaviest I've been in my life. So like I said, I'm not trying to get back to that weight, but I wish I found the longer hairstyle a little earlier in life. I do wear a lot of hats, but I just don't have the head for a shaved head. It's tough. I have really thin hair, so I struggle finding hairdos. But I think it started one playoff year. We all shaved our heads. It was the first time I'd ever done it. And I was young, and I was like, wow, this is low maintenance. It's great. It's not in my eyes. And I just rocked that for a few years. But I've slowly transitioned into a few longer hairstyles because I don't think I can rock the buzz head for much longer.
So you get drafted in 2011, and just take us through that day. You were there for the draft.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, with COVID or whatnot, the NHL draft, the OHL draft, it's been different the last year and a half. So to be there when you're drafted, what's that day like?
It was cool. Like, obviously, I think the first rounders have a different experience going up on the stage and getting that famous picture that we've all seen. But I knew I wasn't going first round, so it's not like I missed out on something I was expecting. But we were prepared for day 2. We didn't know what was going to happen. We kind of had a range from my agent at the time, just saying where I could go, what could happen. And you see it every year. The camera shows those guys that sit there all day, and that's a part of it, and that could have happened. So we decided to go anyway, risk it for the experience. And I remember early in the second round, I knew it wasn't really an option for me. But as it got a little later, I knew that's when it kind of had a chance. There was a team at the end. I want to say it was Minnesota maybe, or Ottawa, I forget. Someone with one of the last picks in the second round had showed some interest, so I kind of had my fingers crossed. Didn't happen. And then I remember turning to my dad right when the third round started, and I was like, okay, so pretty much from here on, any pick's a chance. He's like, yeah. Like, that's like, the second round was a stretch. From now on, there's a chance. And I think I ended up going, there was an extra pick in one of the rounds. I think it was the 4th pick in the 3rd round that I went. So I didn't wait much longer after that, but the only thing I remember is that I actually didn't hear them yell my name or call my name. Like, I heard them say it, but in that moment, like, you kind of black out. So I knew it was me, but I actually didn't hear it. So it was kind of weird, but it was cool to go down, meet everyone, do kind of the little festivity things that they do with you. And I think it just helped my confidence. I really wanted to be drafted, and I think that had carried me through those next couple of years.
So you get drafted to Anaheim. Markham boy, okay? We're talking Orange County, right? We're talking hot as hot over there. We're talking flip-flops, sandals, shorts, probably to practice, convertibles, fun in the sun, all that fun stuff, right? So you go to Anaheim, your first training camp, and I'm sure, with that team, there was a few big boys. So how was that your first walk into I believe maybe Timu was there as well, correct? At that time?
I don't even remember my first like walk into the rink. There's so many things I've forgotten over the years, but I do remember the first skate around, like kind of when you go out early, like every team does, you just skate around aimlessly, shoot pucks, whatever. And like as every player stepped on the ice, there was maybe 40, 50 fans that would cheer just low. And then as I was just skating around, I heard like a roar, and I turned, and I think I forgot who was beside me, maybe Matt Clark, a defenseman I'd played with. I was like, what just happened? He's like, Timu's out now. So I guess like the fans, they have their favorites. He was one of them.
Yeah.
And then that day, actually, it was me, Timu Solani, Pat Maroon was my first line at main camp. So I was his line mate the first day at camp, and that was a pretty cool experience, really eye-opening. I was starstruck, but it was cool to have him on my line.
You were centering that line, I believe, probably.
Yeah, I was center in junior just for a little bit.
Yeah.
To this day, everything on the internet says I'm a centerman, but I've maybe taken 15 draws in the past 10 years. So when I think I snap them back, but for the most part, I'm a winger.
Yeah, but I watched you towards the end of your junior career, and you were playing 200-foot games. You were bang on playing as a centerman there. So. So you get drafted again to Anaheim. Like I said, fun in the sun. It's probably totally different than what the NHL players are used to, let's say in Toronto or in Detroit or in Chicago. What is it like outside of the rink in terms of, what do guys do between game days, practices? What's the vibe out there? Because it's sunshine all the time, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I've made some comments just to guys, like even when you're walking into rinks, the players always go through like the loading dock, and that's where the players will park. And those hot southern places always have the best parking lots with cars. So you'll get Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Bentleys, convertibles, whereas as you get more north, there's a lot of nice SUVs, but the exotic cars are in Anaheim, LA, Phoenix. So that's always cool. But yeah, like you said, off day activities there. I never got into it, but there was guys on my team when I was in San Diego and in Anaheim that would go surfing on a day off, where guys up here, I don't even know what I'm not a video game guy, so I've kind of do other things. But yeah, guys were surfing all the time. So something like that is just amazing, that you can be surfing one day and then the next day you're on the ice playing a game. It's just a weird dynamic.
Yeah, some of these guys with the comments already, we already know where this is going. So we want to keep it.
I got the full screen going. I can't see them.
Yeah. So, we got Tipu's that's already, let's go. We got Julian that's already asking about what the girls like are in Orange County, but we're not going to touch that tonight. That stuff there sort of stays within the locker room. Whatever happens in Anaheim stays in Anaheim. So that being said, okay, so surfing. I know that you started to do some promos. I watched a couple of your promos out there. I think you were playing like beanbag something. Things were going well.
Oh
yeah. I still remember your first game where I got a text message from your dad, and it's got your jersey hung up in the locker room. I had 74s busting out. I believe you wore orange that night, the Anaheim orange, and that was an exciting moment. So you go through training camp, you get sent down to San Diego, back and forth here, and then you get the call, and then all this stuff starts to happen, right? Yeah. Then like the journey begins, all the fun stuff begins, because you spent a lot of time up there with the Ducks, and so that first night, you're getting ready. So first off, when you were with Anaheim, did you live with teammates or were you on your own?
In San Diego, the year prior, I had roommates. So it was kind of weird that year. Like you said, I made the team at a camp, which I don't think anyone expected, including the staff there. I think that was just a shock to everyone. So I had made the team. We flew to Dallas. First experience ever. My whole entry level, I didn't get called up once. So I didn't have any experience of that stuff. And that same morning at morning skate, they called me in. They're like, "Oh, coach wants to see you." So in my head, I have my shin pads on for morning skate at this point. Like I'm walking in the room with my shin pads, and I was like, "I'm playing." Like they're telling me I'm playing, and I sit down. He's like, "Hey, we picked up someone on waivers. You got to go down, and you're not allowed to skate because we have too many guys." And I was like, "Oh wow, I don't know. Did I say I wasn't on waiver? Sorry, they're sending me down.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow, great. So take the shin pads off, go pack up, regular flight back to San Diego. But anyways, to your rooming answer.
Yeah.
That year I found my own place because I had got sent down weeks later than everybody else. So it's a funny story. Actually, my cousin may or may not be watching, Jonathan. He was visiting me at the time. And we had went to Target, furnished my whole apartment that I had got in San Diego. I signed a 6-month lease. We furnished it. We bought everything. I was getting candlesticks, placemats. Like, we did it perfect.
Yeah.
So we set it all up. And I had one more night in the hotel before I had to go back into my place. And it was right beside the practice rink, which was like half an hour away. So I was like, hey, Jonathan, like, do you want to just stay one more night in the hotel? And then tomorrow we'll come here? He's like, yeah, that's fine. So we set it up, locked the door, go to the practice rink. That next morning, I get called up and never slept a day in that apartment.
How about Jonathan? Did he sleep there or what?
Jonathan took the road trip up with me to California, and I didn't know I was playing the next day. So me and him were at Huntington Beach body surfing. Everyone, like, it was cold. Like, the Pacific Ocean's cold. So me and Jonathan are body surfing in whatever month this was, October. It's cold. People are looking at us like we're nuts. Little did I know the next day I was going to be playing. But, yeah, the day before my first game, I was body surfing.
So you talked about exotic cars and that stuff. So it's game day, right?
Yeah.
Who has the nicest wheels on the Ducks on game day there? Because you said, like, you see it, man, the Lambos and the Ferraris and all that stuff.
There was always nice cars, like cars people would dream of having. But what sticks out was Bernier always had a nice car. And I remember him telling me every year he would have a sports car, he would trade it in or sell it and get a new one. So he was always rotating nice cars. And Ryan Getzlaff had ownership in some exotic car dealership. So he was a part owner of the dealership. So he would just also rotate all the time. So he would bring some crazy things in as well.
Yeah.
I'd say those two stick out the most off the top of my head.
Okay. So game day, what's your prep? It's your first game in the NHL.
First game, I didn't know I was playing right away, so I just normal morning skate. Like, I didn't really have those nerves yet. Yeah. But at the end of every morning skate, the guys that aren't playing will stay out a little longer and do some extra work. So I think it was Emerson Edom, who would usually be a guy that was in the lineup, was pulled to the other end to do the extra skate. And then I was kind of just counting numbers in my head. And I was like, hey, if he's out, someone's in. I'm the only extra guy here. I think I'm playing. Yeah. So I don't remember. I think when I came off the ice, the lineup was posted. I saw it, all the media crowded in, and then it kind of sunk in. So I can't even tell you what my pregame for that day was. It's just a blur, but it was Anaheim's home opener. So that was kind of cool that they had like the formal introductions, and I got to be a part of that.
Yeah, I totally forgot that, but you're absolutely right because we all watched it here at home. So first game there, especially with the big boys now. Now you're, Getzlaff, Perry, Solani's there, correct? Right?
No, he was not there.
Okay, he was not there. Was Kessler there? Ryan Kessler?
Yep.
Okay, so you got Kessler there. So you got a lot of big boys here. It's your first NHL game. What's the vibe when you walk into that room and you see the jersey?
I don't want to say relief because I'm not sure it was relief. It was just kind of like finally, like I don't even know. I just remember in my entry level years when I never got called up, I was just like, God, like at night, if I ever prayed it, at the end of my prayer, like, just give me one game. Like, just make all this work worth it. Just give me one. So I think that was just kind of like, thank God, like we made it, like we're getting a game, like anyways. And then, I don't know. It just kind of snowballed from there. It was just in the moment the whole time because you could be gone at any day. So it's kind of like take this one game, one day at a time. And I was a day at a time for 3 months maybe. Like you don't know. Anytime they call your name, you don't know if they're telling you to fix something off the face-off or pack your stuff. So it's not an easy way to live. I know some people, it's just like you're in the NHL, like you should but there's some pins and needles there every morning walking into the rink when you don't know what's next. Right.
So you're, like you said, you could be taping your shin pads and you get the top and you got to go see coach in the coach's office, right? Right. So when you get that call, of course, Is it normally from the coach, or is it like does the GM talk to you, or is the coach says talk to the GM? How does that work?
For the first game?
No, just in terms of, let's say, if you're being sent down or if you're not, like,
yeah.
So the guys that are not dressing for the game, right? Are the lineups posted, after game day skate, or how does that work?
So, for example, for a skate like that, most guys will go into morning skate. It depends on who's extra. It always changes. Sometimes it's a concrete lineup. You know who's playing unless someone gets hurt. But on a day like that, I think it was more so a general morning skate. Everyone get your touches, do your thing. And then if you're not playing, one of the assistant coaches would be like, hey, you're out today. Let's go do an extra skate, something casual like that. But yeah, it's usually been like that. Sometimes you know beforehand, sometimes you don't. It always changes. All
right. So you play your first game, like you said, the first 3 months, it was sort of like, are you going to get sent down? Are you going to stay up with the team? By every game, you're gaining momentum. You're practicing with the team. You're getting comfortable, right?
Yeah. Sure.
I do know this. Your first goal was scored against LA. I was watching it. It was in LA. I can't remember how many games in it was, but I know that was five games. So it was a special moment for everybody involved. And I asked you this, I think I texted you a couple of days after the game, and you sort of gave me it was a blur. I just, the puck went in the net, and everything after that was sort of like a blur. But that being said, you're on a road trip to LA. So when you guys are traveling to LA, San Jose, what's that road trip like? And then we'll dive into, road trips per se, coming to Toronto, Montreal, those cities there. But, going against your, competing against the California teams, what's that like? Are you staying overnight, or are you heading back home to Anaheim?
So we always go a day early, no matter who you're playing. So even if LA is an hour down the road or whatever it is, we go a day before. But that's the only trip that we take a bus to in Anaheim. So Anaheim to LA is a bus ride. We'll go a day early, and then go for dinner at night, and then next day game day. So we'll never travel the day out.
So you talk about dinners. And I'm sure you being a rookie, and we all heard about these rookie tabs. I'm sure you had to wine and dine a couple of the veterans there, correct? Or they didn't get you.
We had the rookie party, which is just a standard thing that you always have to pay into. So that's just part of it. But in regards to paying for big tabs, the guys were great with me. Like specifically, Andrew Cogliano kind of helped me out real early and was taking me out, treating me, kind of showing me how it's all done. So that was great. And in Anaheim for pregame meal, some teams have meals brought, some teams don't. So Anaheim, we would all go to the same restaurant. Forget where it was. It was just like before you get to the ocean. I think it's called Fashion Island. It's like a mall. They had a good restaurant there. And after every meal, they'd play like the credit card game, or like it's the bill game. So they take like a number on the check, and you play this weird game to whoever gets the number. And out of however many home games I played that year, close to 30, I didn't lose one. So I had a lot of free pregame meals that year. I got lucky.
You gotta love that, eh?
Yeah, I got lucky.
So let me ask you something. You see, with Hockey Night in Canada and the pregame shows and stuff like that, all these guys coming down with their suits, and they always have something in their hand, what they're drinking. It's coffee, whatever it is. Okay, so let's tell the viewers about Joseph's, I guess, pregame ritual. What would you do in terms of game day? Some guys go for a nap, some guys, whatever they do. But so you go to some teams don't even have morning practice or morning pregame skates.
Yeah.
With Anaheim, what was your routine when you guys were at home?
Yeah, so those days kind of screw you up when it's an optional skate, or if they say we're not even going to the rink. Those things kind of switch your scheduling up a little bit. But for the most part, it would be, and to this day, like if I just use what I do now on a game day, it hasn't really changed. It's usually a light breakfast and a coffee. Like I'll do my morning with that, little morning energy with the coffee and just something light. And then we'll go skate after that. So say we're done by 11 o'clock or so, I won't eat until between 12 and 1. And then I like to be asleep by 2. So there's kind of a little juggling there, depending when you get off the ice, when you get out of the rink. If you got to tape a stick, like there's all different things that, especially for me, I'm a little OCD, time crunch kind of guy. So if I know I got to tape a stick, I'm like, I got to get off. I got to get the stick taped. I got to get out of here. So there's all those things to think about. And I like to be in bed by 2. because I sleep till 4, leave at 4:30, be at the rink before 5. So I guess the main points there are a lot of pro hockey players eat as early as that. Like I was telling you earlier, in junior when I lived with Malcolm Subban, we were eating chicken parm and pasta at 4:45 and going to the rink at 5, and that's all we do. But now it's a couple scoops of rice and some chicken at 1. And then when I wake up, depending how I feel, I may have a snack, maybe oatmeal, maybe a banana, but that's it. Like you think, like if you think about a normal day, you're like, if I ate at 1 o'clock, I'd be starving by 7, let alone 9 when the game ends. But I don't know. It's just different on a game day. You don't really get hungry. And if you are, there's snacks in the room you can chew on at intermission, protein bar, bananas, oranges. So I don't need a ton on game day. I like to stay as light as I can. I don't need a big chicken parm in my stomach. Yeah. So that's what I like to do for that. So
on your way to the rink, again, like I said, we see these guys, holding coffee or whatever. Was there a favorite drink that Joseph used to like to take? If you were on the telecast walking into that rink, pimping up, what would you have in your hand?
Yes, yeah. I think that's where it changes. Like we see these guys in Toronto walking down, and they're just making statements. Like they're bringing their ace suits out and they're sweeping it up. But it wasn't really like that in Anaheim. Like you get down to the loaded, like it's just a different vibe there. Like great place to play, but it's not the same media. Like we don't have 100 cameras walking into the rink. So like I said, I have my coffee in the morning. Yeah. I drink a sugar-free Red Bull sometimes for games, and those are at the rink, so I don't bring that. If anything, it'd be a water bottle, because on game days, like hydration for me, I can tell a big difference in like how my legs feel when I'm hydrated. So the amount of water bottles you'll see me drink on a normal day to a game day is completely different. So most likely it'd be a water bottle.
Okay, water bottle. Healthy guy. There you go. You're playing home games or whatnot, and what happens the day of, though, if you have a home game and that night you got to fly out? So that is your routine a little bit off in terms of, you got to pack up now.
Yeah.
How long is the trip? Let's say you're on a West Coast Canadian trip. You're playing Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver. You're probably gone for 10 days. I would think something like that.
Yeah, depending when the next game is, there may or may not be a day in between. So I'd maybe pack the night before or get home a little early before I nap. Most likely the night before. I probably wouldn't do it before I nap. But I'll have my stuff ready at the door, because I don't like being stressed out like that with stuff last minute. I know some guys that if they were to wake up at 4, they just grab everything, shove it in their duffel bag, suits, everything, just shove it in. Throw a toothbrush on top, toothpaste. That's why they're walking around. You see toothpaste on their shoulder. You're like, what happened? Like, oh, it's all in the same bag. I'm like, yeah, that's not me. So I'm pretty. I'll overpack before I underpack. That's just always how I've been. But I'll pack the night before. My stuff will be at the door ready. So when I come home, I wake up, wash up, put my suit on. I'm out the door. My bags are ready.
All right. So you play your home game and then you're off to let's say a Western road trip. And so what's the process like after the game? You guys told that like, hurry up, let's go. We got to catch the flight.
It depends if we win or lose. I think there's a direct correlation through the NHL that if you lose, the bus is a little quicker. Okay. So if you win, it's a little more easy going in the room. Music's going a little delayed, but if you lose, music's off. Bus time's already written on the board. You're out of there. But it depends where we're going. For me specifically, if we have a road trip, that night I'm packing. I'll look at the weather, see what I'm looking at facing. If it's going to be colder, warmer clothes, that kind of stuff. Plan ahead. But the road trips are great in the NHL. Yeah.
So you're a rookie on your first road trip, and you're packing. And are you packing? For a 3-game stint, are you packing 5 suits because you're not sure what color you're going to wear that day? Shoes wise,
shoes are tough to pack. Like I said, like I'm a guy that likes stuff perfect. Like I can't just shove my dress shoes with heavy stuff on top to crush it. So I think when I was younger, I was bringing my black and brown shoes because I knew my dad would want me to switch up my suits, whatever. But as you get older, like I'm going black shoes, black pants. I'll switch the shirt and the tie. Yeah. So I think when I was younger, I had the massive suit bag with me with every option for a week, even though we had 2 games. Now I'm more single nice suit, couple shirts, couple ties.
Yeah. So is there any chirping though with the rookie that, maybe, he's got the suit bag and he's looking to go to a model show, right? With these guys that are stuffing their toothbrushes at the top with toothpaste.
Yeah, I think my chirps at first were more just the quality of my bags. Like I was young. I think I still had the suit bag that had the St. Mike's Majors logo on it from junior.
Okay.
And I think I got a comment on that. Someone's like, what's the line they say? I don't know. I forget. There's that classic line you say to someone when they're living in the past. I forget what it was, but he's like, let it go already. I was like, trust me, it's not my choice. So I think my parents got me a nice one that year for Christmas that I've been using ever since. But it all gets passed on. Now, if I see a guy wearing a logo bag in the airport, I'm like, hey, no, get a bag. So it all gets passed down. I'm not the big Louis Vuitton guy, which a lot of guys are. That's a lot of money to spend on a bag, but nice leather black one that blends in, you'll be safe.
All right. So you leave the rink and you're going on your road trip, and let's say your first road trip. Okay, let's look at that. You get on the plane, and you talk about junior OHL. You played for the Bulls. AHL bus trips, whatnot. Now you're in the NHL, and now you're on these chartered flights, right? And everybody sees it on TV. What do guys usually do on the flights for people that haven't really seen the inside of an airplane or a chartered flight with NHL guys?
Yeah.
What's the routine?
Well, just like even from the start, it's probably, I just want to add in that it's probably exactly how you see it on TV is how I felt the first time. So they tell you to go park at the airport. Like, I don't know if we were right on the tarmac or not, I forget, but one of those things where you're driving right to the plane, get your stuff out, someone will come take your car, you get right on. So it's like, it's as cool as it gets at that stage. So, and it was all new for me. Like even in preseason, some guys experienced that, but all my preseason games I had played were in Anaheim or LA, which was a bus, like I had said. So that was my first real trip. So you kind of walk in. At first, you don't know where you're sitting, but you just keep walking to the back until you're far enough back because it's kind of seniority. It's usually management, veterans, couple-year guys, rookies. So, like, that's fine. These seats are more – the seats I had to sit in that were bad were like a first-class seat in a plane you'd see. So it was enough for me. But yeah, in non-COVID years in the past, you walk in, they have people holding sushi, there's sandwiches. Like as you're walking, you're just grabbing stuff. So by the time you get back, I have Perrier's, Pellegrinos, sushi. I don't even want this stuff, but I'm just gonna see if I want it when I sit down. Then when you're settled in your spot, they'll come bring you a menu. You want chicken, filet mignon, salmon. So it's just, at that point, I was just ordering everything. I was like, this is amazing. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. But to add on to your question, too, there's usually the sleepers, the readers, the movie guys, and the card players. So I'm a card guy, but in the NHL, I don't really get to sit at that table. So a few times I was invited to play. But that year it was mostly me and Nick Ritchie in the rookie spots beside each other playing card games with each other on our phones. So I got invited to a few card games, and those are great, but the money they play for was a little out of my range. So I like to stay in my lane in regards to that.
So the big boys play for big money, eh?
There's some big money being thrown around sometimes.
And what do like the coaches and I guess if the GM comes on the flight, those guys are just either snoozing or are they just chit-chatting up in the front?
That plane, I don't like that.
Or plane you don't even get to see them.
Yeah, you don't. The plane is so big that there's like kind of sections. Like there's like a mini wall, like you would between first class and business class or whatever they call it, economy. Yeah. So there's like little walls, and I think there was a curtain. So like they would pull that curtain. You don't see them or hear them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you're on your first charter flight, and do you remember your first road trip where you were going?
I actually don't.
You don't? Okay. So let's give me the best road trip then with Anaheim.
Overall road trip. Well, there's two. There was the one so we had one very long one where we were going to like New York, Florida, and that's when we had the rookie party. So I think it was like maybe a 10 or 11-day road trip with the rookie party in between.
Yeah.
And then the other cool one for me was when right before Christmas break, we played the Canadian team. So like being from Toronto, I got to play Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa within like a 4-day span. So that was special. And that long one where we just like, I like road trips. Like at the time, like I was in a hotel. So like the fact that I can get out with the guys and like, I like road trips personally. So a 10-day road trip for me, for some people's hell, I liked it. But you see some cool places, you stay in nice hotels. Obviously you're eating at the best restaurants, hopefully paid for by the older guys. But no, it was great, especially for a kid that had never experienced that. I was just in the AHL for the full 3 years prior.
Yeah. So, again, going back to minor hockey and OHL and, AHL, you do your pit stops at Swiss Chalet, let's say, back in minor hockey days and all that stuff. So now you're going to these hotels, and we're not talking like the Motel 6 here, right?
No.
You're talking about, fancy dancy hotels, the Carlton and all that fun stuff there, let's say. What are those hotels like? What is the experience in terms of like game day? You wake up, if there's no skate, is there a team meeting? Is there a team breakfast?
There's always, depends on the team. Like for COVID this year, just as an example, there was always meals at the hotel. But in a normal year, like for example, breakfast on a game day, you would just go eat at the hotel restaurant. So funny story, just to add on to that first experience, that first day in Dallas it was. So that, I guess that was my first road trip, Dallas, the first game I got sent down.
Yeah.
So when we were there that morning, I didn't know anything at this point, Ritz-Carlton breakfast. So again, like the whole team's eating there. I can't leave and go to Starbucks. Like I have to eat there. So I think I had maybe 2 over easy eggs, some bacon, maybe avocado. I think my bill was $50.
Yeah.
And I was like looking at the guys. I was like, guys, I just paid $50. So like, it's fine. Like you're good. And I was like, okay. But I ended up getting sent down. And in that same day, so I went Ritz-Carlton eggs for $50. That night at midnight, at the end of my trip, when I got back to San Diego, everything was closed and the hotel was beside a gas station. So I had Lunchables and chocolate milk for dinner in one day. So that was my all-time high to my all-time low within 12 hours.
Yeah.
So that's just an example for people listening of how quick things change.
So again, that's a really good touch point there, because if you're not part of that, like per se the big boys, let's say, right? Your day, your weeks, your months can change very quickly.
For sure.
So let's just get into some of that with for the younger viewers that are going to watch this later on. One thing I really look up to in terms of your dedication to the game and your will not to stop. So in terms of having that will, and like you said, from one hour to 11 hours later, you're doing something else here. Yeah. So what advice would you give a young hockey player today that's going up through, hills and valleys right now? Yeah,
it's again, there's so many. It's even cliche to say cliche at this point, but there's just so many different paths. And even for my example, quickly, I was going to say this before, that whole entry level, I had not been called up. So like some people listening are thinking, oh, 65th overall, like he should get a chance. Like my name didn't get called once, my whole entry level. And I remember Nate Thompson had been sent down to San Diego for a conditioning stint. So we were playing in Ontario. I think it was a timeout or something where there was a little downtime on the bench, and it was just mid-game, and I like hit him, and I was like, hey, when did you play your first game? He's like, I didn't get called up my whole entry level, and then I made the team out of camp. And I remember being like, first of all, that's insane. Second of all, okay, we'll see what happens. And that's what happened to me. The next year, made it out of camp, little hiccup early, but stayed the whole year. So you just really never know. And I think if I didn't hear that, but if I would have given up and not had a good off season and not went to camp ready, maybe this never happened. So you don't know when that opportunity is going to come. You don't know who's watching, and you just don't know the bounces that are going to happen. So you just always have to be ready, and good things will happen if you're good enough, I think. My dad always said that from when I was younger, like if you're good enough and you're out there, people are going to see you. There's never been a McDavid playing somewhere that they didn't find. Mm-hmm. They'll find you. So if you're doing the right things and you're working hard and you're on top of everything, you'll get noticed. And good things should happen for you.
Fantastic. So we were talking offline about, best players that you've played against, or the best player that you've played against in the NHL. Who would that be, Joseph, if you had to pick one?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because I consider myself to be pretty on top of things and like memory wise, but it's crazy how many things just slip your mind. Like you'd think when you're playing against Ovechkin, you'd pay a little more attention, but you're so involved in the game that there's just things you don't grasp. But I remember at the time McKinnon's just like how powerful he was like it got your attention. Like when he took a stride, it was like this guy's made differently. Like his muscles are just extremely strong compared to everyone else. But he was impressive, just how explosive he was, everything he did. I played against some big names, obviously. Crosby, you're kind of just mesmerized when you're on the ice with them. I remember one game in Vancouver, he was battling for a puck against the boards, like with his head down, and it was right beside our bench, and I was going for a line change. So you see him, and like you're obviously not trying to hurt him, but I was like, I'm just going to give him like a little bump to be involved in the play before I get off. And like I said, like I see numbers, I'm not going to run from behind, so I give him like honestly a little baby like cross check in the back, and I change. And one of the refs or linesmen came over like 2 minutes later, leaned over. He goes, "We don't do that to Sid." Like the ref, that wasn't even their team defending him. The ref, I was like, "Hey, I wasn't trying to hurt him. I was just trying to stay in the league." Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, the big names. I played against the Sedins my first ever game, so I think that was kind of my welcome moment. I lined up against them, and I was like, "Hey, this is crazy." Sid, Ovechkin. I think I played against every superstar at that time because I played almost every team. So I was looking forward to those games too. I was like, "Oh, I've never played this guy. I've never played this guy. Like, it'd be cool." So I pretty much played against every name, but I remember McKinnon's explosiveness it caught your attention at ice level.
For sure. So again, through your career, going back to a little bit of the but you've dropped your mitts a few times here. And we were just talking about the one story here where you were in Colorado this year with the Wild. And we'll get back to a couple of the stints you've had with other teams, but you were with Minnie, and this was towards the end of this season this year, and you're going at it. I can't remember who it was at the face-off dot. There might have been a goal. It was a tough game for the Wild that game. But you were doing some stick taps. I forget who it was with. And you guys were going back and forth. And all of a sudden, my boys come running to me and they're like, Joseph's challenging the bench. He's tripping the bench. And I come running over there and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So what was going on in that little episode there with
we were down bad. And throughout the game, I had again, I'm just trying to make my mark. That whole entry level that I waited to get called up, I pretty much did again before this game. So I went a full 3 years in the AHL before this game again. It was just another. I've said it to teammates along the way. I'm like, I'm climbing the mountain twice. I was at 0. I made it. I'm back to 0. I'm going to try and make it again. So that game, I was just trying to do anything I could. My legs felt good. I was playing well, and I was like, hey, we're getting pumped here. If I can step up and do this, that'll go a long way because that's just how hockey culture is. Like you kind of defend your team. You're getting run into the ground. You kind of stand up for yourself in that way. It's just the way it goes sometimes. So I had asked a few guys throughout the game, no takers, and at the end I was like, hey, I might as well just give it one more. So I think it was Comfer, who I'd already asked earlier in the game, and he said no, but there wasn't really anyone else to ask. And he said no again, and then their bench got up and was like, it's 6-1. Where were you all game? I was like, I asked your whole team all game. What do you want me to do? So I understand where they're coming from. If I was on that team and I saw some guy doing that, I'd be the first one to stand up and say something, but they all understand deep down, and that's just the way it goes. So there were some few good chirps back and forth. None of them safe for television, but a few threats as usual. And our assistant coach after the game came up to me and he was just like, I love what you said there. So if people hear this interview, I'll tell you what I said if I see you in person. But I gave a nice threat to I think it was Kadri, and our coach loved it. So
I love stories like that. The chirps are beautiful. We can't say them on the podcast, but they are beauties. So getting back to Anaheim there, you play a number of games. I think it was like 58, 59 games, Joseph, something like that. You were reaching 60, I believe.
Yeah. 49 with Anaheim and then 10 with Vancouver.
Sorry, yeah. So that season was 59 games in total in the NHL. Things are going really well in Anaheim. We're all watching. I'm watching all the late night games, a lot of coffee in the morning because we're watching you. Yeah. And all of a sudden, we were just talking about this. I get a text from a buddy of mine, and he's like, Joseph got picked up by Vancouver. And I'm like, no effing way. That can't be right because, you were doing so well there and things were looking up. So what happens before we get into that? Just got a question for you here. So Tipu has a question there. Joseph says, best dressing room facilities for a visiting team in the league.
I remember at the time in 2016-17, that first year, that the new Edmonton arena had just opened, or maybe the year prior, the new arena. I don't even know. Rexall, I believe.
Yeah. Yep.
And am I right with? Is it Rexall still?
Yeah, it's I think it's whatever it is.
Yeah. Apologies. But that away room, it almost looked like a home setup in another rink. It was probably better than some existing home setup. So Edmonton, when it's so grand and brand new that it kind of, when you're on the ice, you're like, this is massive. And then to this day, off the top of my head, obviously ACC was just cool for me Scotiabank, because I'm from Toronto.
Yeah.
But Toronto was cool. Montreal is kind of like, they're just such passionate fans, and it almost seems as if the stands are like dark and like clouding over you, so it just feels like you're trapped at the time. So that was cool.
Is that cool, Joseph, when you're sorry to interrupt you, but when you're skating on the ice, let's say in Montreal, and you look up and you see all those banners, and I'm sure you're a hockey guy, and you're watching Hockey Night in Canada like every young kid, and you're seeing the Montreal Canadiens, but you're actually there. You're actually looking up and you see all these greats and all these Stanley Cup banners. What's going through your mind? Like, that must be.
It's it adds a little nerves, honestly, just because you're like that's like the biggest stages for a Canadian kid, like to play there, to play in Toronto, and even like as I keep thinking, I just think every rink has something special about it. So all the Canadian cities are Canadian cities. Playing at MSG was cool because you think about what events had been there other than hockey. Like, there's been world events that stick in people's minds for history that have been in that rink, and you're playing there. So there's something special about every rink. Like I said, the best away room, they're all pretty nice, but Edmonton's is probably the best. And I just saw a question pop up, worst.
Yeah, worst.
I think at the time, Calgary was a little outdated, and I kind of want to say Detroit because it was the old Joe Louis arena.
Yeah.
And they just got their new one. So that was kind of the end of its day, and it had been around for a while. So, but still at the same time, it's old, but you're like, think about how many guys have been in here before me. So there's always something that kind of brings the spirits. There's never anything that bad in the
NHL. I've heard some stories about Joe Louis, some mice and all that fun stuff. Okay, so again, getting back to best player, we talked about McKinnon. Maybe some of the best goalie you played against. Like, again, you're sitting on the bench, you're probably watching, you're definitely watching the shots going by, you're on the ice, whatnot. You've played with some good tendies on Anaheim and some of the teams you've played on as well in the NHL.
For sure. And I think that's – I used to get that question a lot, kind of what's the biggest difference from here and there, and it's always the same answers you hear from guys, but I like to throw in the ability of the goalies in the NHL, because a shot that'll go in the AHL is not going in the NHL. Like, these guys are amazing. So for me, like, I get my offensive chances every once in a while, but the best goalies for me would be the best goalies for you. Like, it's those same guys that have those big names, Vasilevsky, Price. At the time when I played with Ryan Miller, he was still great, and they're all good. So obviously I didn't score many goals. I got 4 though, but they're good, and that's one of the biggest differences moving up levels. Is a good scoring opportunity just means a completely different thing in the AHL and the NHL.
So good point there, because they always talk about those different jumps from junior to to the AHL, then to the NHL. So huge jump from the AHL to the NHL, Joseph?
Yes and no. The AHL is still a pretty fast, quick league, and you'll see even when some guys go down for conditioning, you'd think they get a hat trick first game, but it doesn't work like that. And the one thing I've heard a lot of guys say, and I do somewhat agree with, is that the NHL just has obviously the best of the best players, but there's just so much structure within teams and the ability of each individual player that there's more time on the ice than there may be in the AHL. So a little example I can give is, as a winger, if you get the puck on the wall in the AHL, you could have some guy that's way out of position coming full speed trying to kill you, whereas in the NHL, he'll stay where he's supposed to be and you have that extra second. So it's kind of weird how it works like that, but it's almost easier. Still obviously the best league in the world, but there's little things that make it easier because guys are where they're supposed to be and guys aren't running wild.
Right. And you see that in minor hockey as well as, when you get up to the junior charts and the AHL, like a lot of time, and you're absolutely right. I've coached a lot, and what I see too in the NHL is that, again, when you play that structured system, you do have a little bit more time because guys are always trying to be in that right position.
Yeah.
So when you make you're in Anaheim, and like we get back here to the situation here where you played your 49 games, I get the text. We got sort of offline here with a couple of questions, but so I find out you're going to Vancouver. How did that all go down? Because again, like I said, you were doing some promos for Anaheim. Things were going well. So what happened there?
Yeah, comfortable is a bad word to use in hockey, but I wouldn't say I was comfortable, but I knew I had a place on the team. I finally had a place to live, and it was just getting to be like I was a part of the team. So I was also shocked, but the way it kind of happened was that year I had played every game other than one time in Buffalo and for injuries. So the day before the bye week, we played in LA and I didn't play. So that made me a little nervous. And I was like, hey, I'm booked to go to Cabo with the guys tomorrow. I just didn't play my second game for being a scratch, and that had only happened once all year. So I was like, okay, like if something's wrong, they'll tell me. So after the game, I'm like waiting for my name to get called to be like, hey, you're on waivers, you're this, you're that, you're going down. No one said anything. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to Cabo. So we're in Cabo. I think it's like 3 or 4 days in. Haven't heard anything. It's bye week, and the trade deadline. The trade deadline is also within our bye week.
Yeah. So
I wake up one morning, and Chris Wagner, who's on the team, texts me. He's like, I think all he said was why, and I was like, what does that mean? So I'm like, I think I said back, what does that mean or something? And I was on Twitter in the meantime to him responding, and I'm just getting tagged in all these things, Cramarosa waivers. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, so Josh Manson was in my room, and I'm like, I'm on waivers. He's like, did anyone call you? I'm like, no. So I didn't hear a word. I'm in Mexico. I'm on waivers. I don't even know what's going on. And we had a dinner that night at Getzlaff. So the young guys went to a resort in Cabo, and the older guys kind of went to these expensive villas. So we had maybe 10, 12 guys in Cabo at the same time. Yeah. And we had a dinner at Getzlaff's villa. So I remember Bieksa was texting me the whole time, like kind of like working same as my agent was. Like my agent was doing work, and Bieksa was working for me as well. And he was like, I've talked to a few teams, like it's been a good run, but like he's like, I think there's a good chance you're getting claimed. It's like, it's exciting to know teams want you, but Anaheim was my first experience in the NHL. Like I love those guys. I love the team. So it's kind of bittersweet. And you also don't know where you're going.
Right.
So that next day I found out right at the deadline, someone called me. I think Bob Murray called me. That was the first time I had spoke to him. He's like, it's been great. You got claimed. Unfortunately, we would love to keep you, etc. And I was on a plane within 4 hours and had to play the San Jose Sharks the next day.
I remember that.
It was a very quick turnaround, and the way it happened was even crazier. But got to play for a Canadian team. Didn't end the way I wanted there, but it's another jersey in my office, I like to say.
Yeah, for sure.
When I have an office.
Yeah, when you get an office, and
Yeah.
I don't know about that number. I think you wore 26 there, right?
They gave me 26, and
Yeah.
I didn't love it, but then I realized my dad had worn it in the past, so I just put that in my head and made myself think.
Because I was like, what is that when I saw you play, right? I'm like, doesn't look good on you, but I like the 74.
I wanted 74 back. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I like the 19 on you too. The 19 looks, you rock the 19 well.
Yeah, you gotta be a little more established before you can wear 19.
Exactly. Yeah. So Teeps is asking best bar to go with the boys and what city?
That's so hard. And honestly, this is the truth too. The NHL schedule in a normal year is so jam-packed. You're playing every other day. There aren't many nights where it's like a free night out. Like, we don't get those. Like, we're playing every other day. But city-wise, I don't know if I can narrow down a specific bar. City-wise, I know we had a good time in Nashville. My friends are going to kill me for saying that because I always rip on country, but it was a good singular night. I'm not going there longer than that, but it was a good one night. And Nashville was fun. Been to a few cool places in LA. I've been out everywhere. Like, we go to eat somewhere, it's a good scene. Vancouver's also a great place, and I played there. So I don't think I can narrow down to the bar, but city-wise, Nashville, California in general, Vancouver, there's good spots everywhere. But I met Justin Bieber at the Catch in Los Angeles, so we're gonna put that at the top there. I'm a big
There you go. So you chirp your buddies that like country music. So what does Joseph like to listen to when he's preparing for a game?
In general, I just want to put out there that I'm pretty open with music. If there's a good country song, I'll like it. I'm just not going there for live music. It's just not my thing. But
are you listening to country to pump you up?
No, never.
Okay.
Never. But I do like rap, but I also kind of like, I don't even know the genre really, but those kind of like house songs with the lyrics mixed in, like, those good like beat songs that have a good tune behind them. Yeah. So I'm kind of mixed match between them, and I have had the music control in more rooms than I haven't. So I'm going to say people agree with my music taste for that situation.
So the rookie gets to pick the music then. Like you're able to do it? Like
in Anaheim, I actually did do the music. So I think I think that's a little more rare than normal. I think the first time the same songs came on, because I think an older guy just had his playlist, and I was like, hey, can I take the reins here for a game?
Yeah.
And they gave it to me, and they're like, that was good. You can keep doing it. So I did that the whole year. And then when I left, Nick Ritchie, who was my roommate at the time, texted me. He goes, hey, Joey, I'm doing the music now. Can you help me? So I made him a playlist, and he just clicked play in the room.
Lucky your dad's not in there. He'd be playing Expose or something like that.
He doesn't even work out to music. He's got other issues. So, yeah. I asked him the other day, I was like, do you listen to – because there's never a speaker in the little gym that we have at home.
Yeah.
Like, do you use music? He goes, no music. I was like, that's psychotic. But
that's awesome. That's good.
That's good. That too.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm chirping him right now about the Expose thing, right? So, okay, so toughest player, Joseph. We have a few minutes here. Toughest player you fought in the NHL, and then let's just toughest player you fought overall, AHL, NHL. I know you don't want to give that, the props to that guy, but
yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Toughest guy in the NHL I fought was Michael Haley, and he's just a little bowling ball. Like that, you got to really hurt that guy to put him down, and he's got a massive head, and my hands aren't huge. So it was kind of a recipe for disaster. That one didn't go as well as I liked, but he's probably the toughest. And Chris Neal, I don't usually say no to that many guys. Like,
oh, I know that.
I probably know I can count on one hand, but Chris Neal was one of them. And I think his line to me was, you want a shot at the belt, kid? And I said, nope, you can keep it. So, he was chasing me around game, asking me if I wanted the belt. I was like, no, I'm good. You can keep it. And so that probably would have been on my list, but I don't think that would have ended too well either. So
that's great. I love stuff like that. So Paul Santi, best coach. I guess we're talking all around here from Paul. Best coach that you've had.
Yeah, that's tough because I haven't had that many. If I don't name one, it sounds like I'm leaving them out. But obviously, my dad coached me all minor hockey, so he's got to be up there for getting me to this point. And that's tough.
I would let's not say best coach, but let's put it this way: which coach besides your dad has had really a major impact in your success, right?
Yeah, I'll just make it easy for certain points. I've had all great coaches, but Dallas Eakins kind of helped me a lot that 1 year in San Diego, which led me to the next year with Randy, who gave me my first opportunity. So I think he'll always have a place within that answer for giving me my first chance. And I'll probably skip all the way to this year with my second chance, which was Dean Evison. So the guys that see the most in me, I've done the best for. So I think it's just a perfect combination, and I'll leave it at that.
Awesome. Great answer. So let's tell the viewers what Joseph's up to right now, off season. Okay. But before we get to that, you were in the series here in the Stanley Cup playoffs 2021 against the Vegas Knights. And we talked about this via text when you were in Mini. I was asking you a few questions, whatnot. You were getting on the flights. How was that? How was that playoff hockey compared to regular season? Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. I never played against Vegas. They weren't in the league yet that year I had played. And they're just such a quick offensive elite team, which obviously now everyone's still watching them do. But Minnesota upped their game and went all the way to 7. So it was really cool to be there, to experience the atmosphere in Vegas as well. Obviously, that's within a short period of time, they've become one of the leading spots to be for kind of fan base and environment. So that pre-show in Vegas is still something I had never seen before. So it was awesome. And I can't even imagine the nerves of the guys skating out when that song plays, that famous song they have, because you get goosebumps in the stand. So I know I remember asking that Kalen Addison, the young guy, I was like, hey, he played at one of his first games in the playoffs against Vegas. I was like, were you nervous? It's like, no. And I was like, you're lying. You got to have been a little nervous. I was nervous.
Yeah.
So I think that would have been cool, but it was just nice to be along for the ride. And if anything happened, one of us could have been playing. So we kind of took that pretty seriously. We were ready. So if that series goes any longer, or couldn't have gone any longer, if we advance in the playoffs, there was a chance I could have played. And that's just the way it goes sometimes. So it was a great experience.
Right. I just got a text here from somebody in terms of asking about, the rookie sensation, Kiprasov or Kaprasov, no matter how you say it here, but he's up probably for the Calder.
Yeah.
I'm sure you were on the ice with him multiple times.
Yeah.
So what do you think about his game? Is he, again, big year from him. Nobody really expected that. So,
yeah. I think the thing with him is every time he has the puck, something happens. He doesn't have McDavid's speed or things like that, but he's just such an overall good, strong player. And even the guys now, when he gets the puck, when we're not playing in the stands, we're looking at each other something's about to happen. So he's a really good skater. He's heavy, he's strong. He's 200 pounds and not the tallest. So guys go to hit him and they just bounce right off him. So he's just a strong, young kid. And I don't know what's going to happen with his contract, but if they get him long-term, that's going to be a centerpiece for a lot of years to come.
Great insight there. So Joseph, like I said before, what are you up to now? What's the off-season regimen like? Again, you have guys that are in minor hockey that, the working out stuff is huge, off-season training, on ice training in the off-season. So what are you up to right now?
Yeah, I had my 2-week quarantine coming back from the U.S., so I haven't skated yet. Hasn't been too long, 3.5 weeks since I've been back. So we have a little gym, like I mentioned earlier, in our house. So I've been getting into the daily workouts here, just kind of trying to stay fit, and I'm going to start skating next week. So I know it's hard for guys to find ice in Toronto right now. I think there's a spot that's going to be able to accommodate us next week. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But I don't even know what I was going to say. But I don't skate. When I was younger, I used to skate all year round. And then I got into a few years where I took a lot of time off skating, and now I didn't play that much hockey this year, just being on the taxi squad and up and down, which was just the year it was. So I don't feel like I'm necessarily burnt out from hockey. Like after a 76-game AHL schedule or 82 NHL schedule, some guys get home and they're like, "Hey, I don't want to see my skates for at least a month, 2 months." But I think I didn't burn out this year, so I'm ready to get back on the ice.
So what advice before we go would you give a minor hockey league player that, is looking to, we're getting into the summertime in terms of training? Are we looking at more speed, leg work? What are we looking for a young guy, let's say ranging between the ages of 12 and let's say 15, 16?
Yeah, it's tough. I think at that age, I've never been the strongest guy in the room. So we'll start off with that. I don't think it's all about strength, but I think everyone's going to grow into their body a little different. So maybe now if you're not the strongest, it's not a big deal. There's other ways that you can that big, strong guy, if you're faster than him, he's probably not going to be able to catch you. So there's little things here and there, but obviously speed in today's game is massive. And if you can be strong while still being fast, that's probably the deadliest combination at this point.
All right. So Joseph, thank you for being in the lounge tonight. It's been a pleasure. I know that we usually talk in a different environment, but it's been awesome. I'm glad that we had to chat about some of the ins and outs of being in the NHL. It's been great. So thank you for being in the lounge tonight.
Thank you very much. I had a great time.
For the viewers today, we will be back on Monday, 9 p.m. We will have an elite fitness trainer to discuss off-season workouts. For now, again, if you want to become a Hockey Lounge member, hit that subscribe button below or follow us on Instagram, the Hockey Lounge. Enjoy the playoffs. Last I saw, it was Tampa Bay Lightning 2, the Islanders 1. I know I want to see those Islanders out, and I also want to see the Montreal Canadiens out. But that's me. Have a great night. Enjoy the playoffs, and we will see you next week. Stay safe.